Greg Larnerd here, hanging at McCallie, this incredible arcade room. We're about to talk to David Craig of the McCallie basketball team, ESPN Chattanooga. Let's go meet the big fella. All right, we're here at McCallie hanging with David Craig here of the McCallie basketball team. And generally, there's not many people that I usually have to look up to, but looking up to the 7'2" David Craig here. What is everyday life like as a 7'2" person? Like, I can imagine there's a lot. I mean, we tried to go in that room over there and you're like, no, this is not going to work. My head is basically touching the ceiling. So what's it like everyday life as a 7-footer?
So, I mean, I'd say for me, it's actually not as far as different from what people expect of me. I mean, sure, there's obviously going to be some stipulations, but overall, it's still the same thing. You know, you wake up and you got to do what you got to do. Work, go to school, you know, take care of yourself, you know, academically, work on your body. So, I mean, the only thing that's really different is just that, you know, I wear bigger clothes, and I wake up in a custom-made bed, and I wear bigger shoes. Aside from that, I'm just like everybody else.
Well, growing up in South Africa, what was that like?
Extremely different, extremely different. I think one of the key differences that I found from you know, here versus back home is just that back home in South Africa, you know, because of the fact that we didn't necessarily have as much freedom and opportunity like generally throughout your schooling career, and also you weren't really afforded as much resource and benefit of the doubt when it comes to those types of things. You sort of develop this quick desire for what you really want versus what you don't. You know, there's not really a in between where you still kind of figure things out. So I say that, and just I think also because people really understand what it's going to be like once you get out of high school. You know, there's a very good idea of what that's going to look like, and I think what that does is generally I see how much more people that take things seriously back at home like just have this natural knack to just pursue it a lot harder than, you know, kids do here. And I think that's not really something to blame on anybody. It's just a cultural difference, you know. So that, and then just in general, South Africa is not nearly as big, and you know, it's just you kind of get accustomed to a lot of the smaller things, you know. I think one of the key differences though is just that, you know, a lot of the things that go for friendships in South Africa is how you understand one another. And I think over here it's more about, you know, how compatible you are to somebody. And that's something I really noticed. I don't really understand what makes it that way, but I feel like that's a big difference that I've noticed. And I think for me, when I came here, that was a big culture shock because I'm used to forming relationships based off of that. But then because of the fact that not a lot of people did actually understand who I was, because of the fact that I came from such a different place, that's something I had to learn, you know, like it's actually about compatibility, you know, how do you and this person get along on like things that you guys experience in the current moment, not like how you grew up, you know, how you think, what sports you play, all that stuff. So there's a lot of differences. So
when did you get into basketball? When did you start playing basketball?
I started playing for fun when I was 12. I remember the thing that actually got me into the sport first was we had this NBA 2K14 CD that was found somewhere in some leftover storage or like a lost and found, something like that. And we loaded it up onto the PS3 and said we're just gonna try it out. And then, you know, next thing you know, it's me and my brother and we're just playing for ages and ages on that same game. So we're like, you know what, it's all fun in the game, but let's go and try it out. And so we did, and then it started from there, and we didn't really think too much of it. We didn't take it too seriously. We just thought, you know, it's something fun to do. But then, you know, obviously when you do it so much, you get pretty good. So once I started to notice how much more I was putting time into the sport than others were, I saw a window for how much better I could be than other people. So I think when I was around 13, that's when I got really serious about it.
I listened to another conversation you had with another media outlet, and you said you grew up as like a point guard. So when did you sort of hit your growth spurt and realize that I'm not really going to be a point guard anymore?
I was around the age where I was about a couple months off of turning 14 because I was like 5'7", around 13 years old. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm creeping up from 14 and I'm almost like 6'4". And I mean, for a 14-year-old, that's pretty big. So,
huge.
And also like my knees were struggling, and like I found myself losing a lot of coordination, speed, agility, athleticism. And just, you know, like what that does is you naturally change how you play actually. And I mean, coaches obviously changed my position on their own. So I mean, I think a lot of people kind of look at me and they say, you know, if I was as big as you, I'd be in the NBA, and I'm like, bro, that's cool, but I mean, you lose a lot of things along the way. And,
yeah,
you know,
you have to make an adjustment.
Exactly,
in your game.
It's a huge adjustment. I think that's the thing that people don't realize is you lose so much, and you have to relearn basically everything you do. And I think I'm grateful that it happened at the time that it did, because it gave me an opportunity to take time to relearn that, you know.
How did you end up here at McCallie? Like, what was the decision-making process? How did you end up here in Chattanooga, Tennessee?
Just given the circumstances that South Africa was in this very moment as well, and that moment, we just knew that it was best for me to come abroad, because otherwise I wouldn't really get the opportunity that I needed. So I needed to take initiative, because there's nobody that's coming all the way to South Africa to watch some kid play. Let's just be real.
Yeah, they'll see your tapes and whatnot, but yeah, they would like to kind of come see you in person.
Exactly.
So what has been the biggest change for you from the first time you got here to where you are right now, just finishing up your senior year, and just as a person, as a player, things like that?
I mean, as a person, I've changed dramatically, and I think there's so many different layers that people don't even see about me, just because of the fact that they, you know, so used to approaching somebody on like the surface level of, you know, what you look like and all that.
Yeah.
So I think as much as, you know, I've developed physically, like as a person, I've changed so much. And I'd say the reason is that, you know, when you live on your own, and through that you have to also endure a lot of trial and error, adjustments, just adversity, and a bunch of those things, you know, like you start to, I wouldn't say change, I like to say the word evolve, because you learn and you get wiser and you
grow.
You start to understand things. And I think through that, I've had to have a lot of those experiences that you just don't get unless you are in my shoes. So I think that's the biggest change so far.
What about as a player? You know, how have you seen yourself evolve and grow from the first time you got here, you stepped on the gym floor, to the last time you stepped out the gym floor?
First time I stepped on the gym floor, everything was going in 1,000 miles an hour. I mean, I was used to playing at like a much lower standard, I'd say. You know, the game was really slowed down. So when I came here, I wasn't used to just how quick people play. You know, all the different types of plays, the screens, defense, all that stuff was all just brand new to me. And on top of that, I mean, I was still a project at the time. So I mean, there was a lot of things I had to work on. I think now, the biggest difference throughout the years has just been how I took care of my body. You know, eating right, stretching, sleeping, all that type of stuff. It's all made a huge impact. And I think the thing that it did for me is that it kind of opened up my ability to really play how I wanted to. You know, not necessarily how other teams dictate how I play. Because I think before, when I wasn't really as capable as I am now physically, you know, teams could dictate the pace of the player when I was on the court, or, you know, all teams would try and, you know, be really physical with me. So just getting those steps allowed me to play with more freedom. You know, I always had the ability to kind of play with skill. You know, even though, yes, I did lack some fundamentals, but I mean, you could just tell that I had a knack for that. So that's definitely the biggest difference.
Now, you're heading to Mercer, as your sweatshirt says. Why Mercer? What attracted you to want to continue your collegiate basketball career, or start your collegiate basketball career at Mercer?
Yeah, and I think the thing people don't realize is that I was really comfortable with committing as early as I did, you know, with all the other people that were recruiting me. The thing that just jumped out to me about them the most is just how much they saw and how much they believed in me. And the reason is, I understand what that's like, because that's what McCallie did for me. They saw what I was capable of, and they weren't just, you know, focused on right now. Obviously, I'm not going there as a project, but I understand what it's like to have that type of confidence in the player, and that's very unique, you know? So I wasn't necessarily concerned about the big name. I was more concerned about the fit. And then I went over to there on an official visit. And I just remember Coach Gary sat me down in the film room, and then immediately he just pulls up tape after tape after tape after like tape, just clips of the offense that they ran at Purdue when he was an assistant coach there. And he's just showing me that, you know, with how much they have surrounding me, and how much he's able to really understand how I work as a big, which is very rare. He's gonna get me exactly what I need. And he's gonna really put me on the floor in a position where I can totally be successful. And I think that's something that other higher major schools don't really have the option of giving you. So, I mean, I think that, and just on top of the fact that Mercer's attitude right now is to, you know, shift the narrative into becoming something that would be considered a high major program, you know. They've hired a lot of guys from Purdue, and, you know, when I went over there, I just saw how much they really take everything seriously and how much they really care about, you know, elevating the program. I think through that, that's just an environment that you want to be in at all times.
Yeah, and that's most important as a player, that they are trying to put you in the best possible position to be successful.
Absolutely.
That's huge. Now, before we go to our final segment, did you have any other high level or higher level D1 offers and things like that that you turned down to go to Mercer?
Well, a lot of them were just really close to offering me, but none of them actually officially offered me. And
Gotcha.
the reason is because I got that's why I committed to Mercer as early as I did. I got really frustrated with how much they were dragging their feet. You know, you get a guy my size and all the college coaches just want to find a reason to not recruit you instead of looking at what you can do. And I mean, I just got really tired of the recruiting process. I had quite a few high major Division I's calling in on me and saying, oh, we're going to get you on the visit, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But then none of it actually really, you know, went through. I had Purdue doing that, Georgia Tech, Fort Wayne, Vandy, UTC even wanted to do that. And it was just, I just got really frustrated with this. So I was like, you know, I'm out of here.
They just want the program that wants you.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful, love that. All right, final segment, a little fast break segment. And we got 5 quick questions for you. Give me the first thing that pops to your head. You ready?
Cool.
Okay, first one. Are there any players that you model your game after that you watch specifically?
Joel Embiid, Shaq, Jokic.
Love that. Favorite NBA or college basketball team to watch?
Favorite college team, Mercer. That's kind of biased. NBA team, I'm a Celtics fan.
Okay. How did you become a Celtics fan?
When they traded the big 3 away and I saw how much they got out of the trade that people weren't seeing.
Okay. Favorite dessert?
Ooh, okay, it's a South African dessert. She knows what it is, my mom. It's this
here.
thing called malva pudding. It's like this oven fried kind of like cake that you have with like custard and ice cream. It's so good.
Oh, sounds good. Do you have any unique superstitions or pregame rituals?
Oh yeah, I have to wear the same type of underwear. Obviously I wash it, but yeah, that's something I do.
Thank goodness. I thought that was a given, but yeah, thanks for clarifying. Last thing, what's your favorite thing about being as big and as tall as you are?
The cause that I'm given, I'm able to play in a way that people don't understand how I do it, you know? Since you don't understand what it's like to be me, you don't understand how it is to think like me.
David Craig, ladies and gentlemen. McCallie basketball, soon to be Mercer basketball. Thanks for spending the time.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
getting to know you.